art. Think of the prestige.
No.
Think of the respect.
No, no, no.
Think of the Tony.
Hello, all you theater lovers, both out and proud and on the DL, and welcome back to Broadway Breakdown, a podcast discussing the history and legacy of American theater's most exclusive address, Broadway. I am your host, Matt Koplik, the least famous and most opinionated of all the Broadway podcast hosts, and with us today is one of the daddies of the Broadway Podcast Network. You know him from his own podcast, the Theater Podcast. Very apropos name with Alan Seals. It is Alan Seals. Hello, Alan.
Oh, hello.
So happy to have you here.
The domain was available, so I bought it, and that became my podcast name. That's the story.
Someone had to get it, and you were just the smart one who got it first.
I got ER and RE. I got both.
Listen, Jeff Bezos over here of the theater scene is like taking over all of it.
Well, I do have my robot stepping in to interview for me now, so if I start to glitch out during this interview, then you know that's what's going on.
That's no way to speak of the Survival Jobs podcast, Alan. They're more than just robots, and you know it. Alan, where are we catching you today?
I am home in the Brooklyns, and I just came inside from a rousing hot game of playing basketball with my boys in the backyard with soccer balls and a soccer goal. So we're creative.
Yeah, sounds like a great day for you.
Like straight guy stuff, I guess. I don't know.
I've heard of them in the past. Alan, I don't know if you know this. We're in the middle of awards season for Broadway.
I've never heard of Broadway.
No, you've never seen a single show or spoken to a single person about it.
No.
But yeah, we're not even knee deep anymore. We are chest deep. We are really in the thick of it. All of the quote unquote preliminary awards have happened, so we just have another 2 to 3 weeks until the Tonys. But they're coming.
They are coming fast. And I think there's going to probably be a few upsets. I'm predicting, but we'll get into that. But I guess where do you want to start with the upsets, with the snubs, with the?
Well, first I want to ask you sort of what's been your experience this year with the awards stuff. Have you been at any of the ceremonies? Have you been sort of in the mix with any of them?
Interestingly enough, personally, this past spring, I was one of the lead producers on When Playwrights Kill, which had its out-of-town run in Boston at the Huntington Theater. And I was just kind of like, I don't know, that was pushing me into the quicksand in a way that I hadn't experienced before. So by the time that ended, it was right when award season started. And I was like, I just need to take a breath for a second. And go play soccer ball, basket hoops with my kids and get back to ground myself for a second. So I've purposely kind of just been letting it all happen around me this season while still seeing as much as I can. But personally, from a podcast perspective, not getting on, I don't need the luncheons and the junkets and the meet and greets and like, I don't know. It seems to have lost a little bit of its shininess for me.
I think that happens when you start doing something consistently and for work. It stops being like a cool, as you said, shiny thing. I was at something the other day where somebody was like, "Oh, so what are you up to tomorrow?" I was like, "I'm going to the Drama Desk Awards for a second time," and I realized, like, if this were 5 years ago, I would have been like, can you believe it? I'm going. And for some reason, this year, it's all kind of exhausting me. So I'm only human. I can only be wide-eyed and optimistic for so long. I've become small-eyed and cynical now.
But you were already cynical in the past. Now you're just a little bit more small-eyed.
Yeah. Well, now that I've seen a little bit more behind the curtain, I'm even more so. I don't smoke, but I want to have a cigarette in my hand to just constantly be like, ugh, the bullshit.
This bullshit. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I do get that. It's a game. I mean, this is an industry of smoke and mirrors in so many ways, on a literal level and on a metaphorical meta level. Um, just ultimately of like you want everyone to believe in your project no matter what it takes, and awards only get you so far. You want to get the awards, you can get farther, but then you have to rely on the story and the music and all these
Mhm.
other things that actually matter. Um, Not saying awards don't matter. Don't come at me. But when the awards are over, you have to keep going,
Yeah.
and you have to build on that. And I've talked about this in my podcast ad nauseum. You're only kind of as good as your last job in a lot of cases, just
Mm.
because that's the perception you have of you as a performer or even a producer or a creative.
Yeah. I find that I think for me what it is I do enjoy the awards. I don't do the sports like you do. So this is like the closest I have to March Madness and, fantasy football and shit like that.
Breaking, as we are recording, Beaches just announced closing.
Oh, okay. It finally happened.
Yes. Let's see. Beaches, Broadway. My texts are blowing up. So let's see. Beaches new musical scheduled to play its final performance on September 6th, 2026. That's actually longer than I thought it was going to last.
That September 6th is the when they were supposed to close, but
Oh,
now
now it's this Sunday.
yes, they are closing on Sunday, May 24th. They were due to close on September 6th.
Wow. Didn't even get a week.
No.
Oh,
Well, they could have gotten 2 weeks if they had, announced it when they probably should have. But everyone knows that Dreamgirls wants the Majestic, but also like Dreamgirls was going to get the Majestic anyway because Beaches was going to close in September anyway. So
sure.
when people were like saying, "Oh, is why isn't Beaches announced closing yet?" I'm like, if the producers want to keep spending money and like, give the actors their health weeks, let them go for it. No one's taking that theater till December anyway. Like it's fine. It's fine.
No, no. And it's going to be fine. And I think, yeah, Dreamgirls, maybe they'll get a little bit of extra time. Who knows? But I mean, again, being on like the creative side of all this now, it's all just like what room you're in with what person at what time. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it is being in the room where it happens, which is a lot of luck sometimes. And it's a very
Yeah.
insular industry that I don't have a correct way of ending this statement,
No.
but
Well,
it's the people that that get you where you want to be.
right. Well, something you had said earlier that I gravitate towards is sort of, you're only as good as your last job, but that's also kind of why no one will ever really know what the truth is about a show's situation until that body is cold and it's been a year or two, maybe even a little bit longer. And the people who tend to tell the truth about maybe unhappy productions are the people who either have given up on the end of this on the industry or people who've gotten more successful since said show. Like part of the reason why Laura Benanti is able to be a truth teller about her time on Broadway is because girl has so much TV money now.
Yeah, like she's moved on beyond that.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, I'll tell you about, how awful that show was." But everyone else is sort of like, "Yeah, no, you're doing a job and you don't know if you're going to get hired again. It doesn't behoove you to shit on, I don't know, let's say your director while you're in a show accepting awards."
Oh yeah, absolutely. And because ultimately the casting director works for the director and the production and the producers,
Mhm.
and the producers still have final say. I mean, you can go at it and have a fight with the director, but if the director wants it and the producers don't, usually the producer is going to have their way,
Yeah.
or
And
vice versa.
but what makes it weird. So as I said, I was at the drama desks on Sunday. No, yeah, Sunday. And I had a friend who was at the Drama League that Friday, and they were texting me while I was at the drama desk, and then I was sort of confirming with them in the Drama League, which is essentially that there were certain winners that the room felt very odd about. And it was one of those things where if you go on social media, if you go in interviews or whatever, like you would never believe that anybody would have any kind of anything less than a stellar reception in the room when they would win an award. And yet there were certain winners where we both were like, is it my imagination or like was their applause kind of muted? And it's like,
Hmm.
no, I thought the same thing. So it's one of those things where like maybe nobody says it, but how a thousand strangers in a theater react when you win an award is kind of should give you an inclination of how people actually feel about you.
Which I guess, tell me your opinion on the voters versus the general audience.
I mean, that's sort of the conundrum of as a voter, you're supposed to kind of be a voter because your insight and your knowledge is supposed to be of such that like you're kind of a tastemaker for theater. Like that you're supposed to be the final voice on it. And yet, I will say some awards bodies don't always do that. You see this happening with the Oscars a lot. Like the Oscars have made it have made it their mission to diversify their voting body, have more women included, more younger voters included, have people of color included. And you see that reflecting in the winners in the last couple of years, and especially in the nominees. And the Tonys have diversified a bit, not as much as they should, but a bit. What hasn't diversified is the quote unquote precursors, the drama desks, the outer critic circles, the drama leagues, which is why you often see such a pivot in nominations and in voting for shows at the Tony Awards. I talk about this on the pod a lot. The Tony Awards are not the Oscars in the sense that the Tonys don't have genuine precursors. I've said this a lot, guys, so if you know what I'm talking about, deal with it. The Oscars have the SAG Awards, the Actor Awards now, Writers Guild, Directors Guild, Producers Guild, and BAFTA. All those award shows, those voters also vote at the Oscars. And so you can get an idea of which way the wind is blowing of like, oh, the international voters at BAFTA really liked Honora, so Honora could really win. Oh, SAG voted for Michael P. Jordan. Fuck, like maybe he's winning actor now. And that's what sort of happens. As far as I'm aware, no one at the Outer Critics Circle Awards votes at the Tonys. I don't believe anyone at the Drama Desk Awards vote for them either. Drama League, it's like a very small percentage of those voters do, of like the producers on that front. But a lot of, I would say the vast majority of voters at the Drama League are members who are simply theater fans who paid to be a member and get to vote. Which is why their spread is so good, because when you go to the Drama League, the food they serve you is exceptional, and it's because they have the money to spend. But it was just it's so fascinating when, you know, people are voting on all of these and people go, oh, well, clearly that's now what's going to happen. And like, yeah, sometimes it does, because some things are undeniable. You know, Hamilton winning Best Musical is undeniable. It's not like the Drama Leagues predicted that. It's not like Outer Critics Circle predicted maybe Happy Ending was going to win last year. It's like, no, everyone knew maybe Happy Ending was going to win. Like, it was just objectively the runaway musical. The algorithm feeds you back what you want to hear so people can create narratives for their fandom and believe that what they want to win or will be
keeps you
nominated.
in your own echo chamber. That's literally how the social media algorithms are engineered to work, is to give you what it knows you already like, to keep you on their platform longer and therefore earn more ad dollars off of you.
One could say the same of Broadway, Alan.
What? No way.
No, it's not.
Capitalism hasn't found its way into Broadway.
No, it doesn't tell you what you want to hear in 4-part harmony and then have you come back and support it again and again and again. But you know, enough about Cephs. That's a cheap shot. I didn't even really mean that. Water for Elephants doesn't have the same punchline to it.
Outsiders, no, not the same punchline either.
There's absolutely nothing political about Outsiders. It's simply just testosterone, wet testosterone,
which I could watch over and over again, and I'm straight.
Tell us again, Alan, how straight you are. Tell us more about basketball, Alan.
Basket shooty hoopsy soccer ball goals.
I shot the ball somewhere. But we digress. So this is all to say we're now in this heat of the season. But as somebody who hasn't really been in the thick of the pre-awards, and you're kind of getting back into the conversations of it all, what have you been hearing about the awards this year?
I am surprised at the people who walked away hating on Schmigadoon. It was good. It was good. I don't think it's worth hating. And then there's good and bad with everything. And the little curl in your mouth says that you hated it too.
No. This is how everyone knows you're not a listener, because you didn't listen to my rankings episode where I ranked all the shows this season.
No,
I did not hate Schmigadoon. I liked it. I liked it fine. But also I have also spoken to a few voters who like quite hated it. But also I have spoken to a handful of voters in each section who like each hated one of the Best Musical nominees. And I think hate is a very strong word for all 4 of them. I have my personal favorite, but like even the ones that I'm sort of mid on, I'm not like, oh, I hate it. I'm just sort of like, yeah, I'm mid on it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I wanted to go in not liking Lost Boys too, because
Mm.
I'm not a fan of like adapted IP anymore. Because I want original stuff. I want the maybe happy endings. I want something that's standing on its own and can last on its own. And something like, Titanic, Two Strangers, great Lost Boys and Schmigadoon. I was like, oh, this is all adapted. And then I was blown away by Lost Boys. I am one of the lovers of that show.
What's Two Strangers adapted from?
No, it's not. It's not. That's what I mean.
Oh, sorry.
Like Two
Yeah,
Strangers and Titanic are the two that are not.
well, no, Titanic is adapted from Titanic, Alan.
Well,
Kind of
yes.
famously so. Um,
Okay, fine.
no, but it's not a straightforward adaptation for sure. Like they basically go, okay, how do we make Titanic as a movie 40 minutes long, then throw in Celine Dion songs, and then add another 30 minutes of our crazy.
So did you like Titanic?
I love Titanic.
Good. Okay, we can still be friends.
Absolutely. You didn't have a choice in that, babe. That was always going to happen with us. The of the four, Titanic is my personal favorite. I think that what I'm surprised by is when Two Strangers opened, because there was such a narrative of like, oh, this is going to be the front runner, and like they just have to hold on till spring. The chatter around right now is like not really big on Two Strangers. It's really more. When the nominations came out, I thought it was going to be like a three-way race among Two Strangers, Lost Boys, and Schmigadoon, and it now really kind of feels like a two-way race between Schmigadoon and Lost Boys, with Schmigadoon kind of coming out ahead.
Really?
That's from what I've been hearing.
Really? I've talked to more people who thought Schmigadoon was just mid, and then I guess, well, maybe I'm answering my own flabbergastation. That's a word from Wicked that I just made up. I'm flabbergastabated in that more people thought Schmigadoon was mid, and then there's more extremes for Lost Boys and Titanic. And so, yeah, go ahead.
If there's extremes for Titanic, I will be thrilled. I would love that.
No, I haven't met anybody who didn't like it, but the people that I have met said they've heard from people who didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm sad for them being in the St. James because they have to close the second balcony, the third level, because it's just too big of a house. So it can't last as long as it's going to need to build up a lot of audience base, a lot of momentum, just because they took the house that was available to them. I think, it's a business move. You move in, you get the Tony noms, you say, so then when you go touring, they've already announced the tour. That was announced this morning too. National Tour of Titanic. They're like, oh, so now it's a Tony nominated tour, whereas before it was just a very successful off-Broadway tour, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it holds more cachet.
I mean, that's part of the reason why they did go to Broadway. Like when they announced the tour today, everyone was going, and news that no one needed to hear, not because we didn't want it, but because we all know, like we know, girl.
Yeah.
It's that I think you should leave sketch where it's like someone drove a hot dog car in the middle of the window, and what's his face comes out in a hot dog outfit. He's like, guys, who could have done that? No, I definitely have heard from people who really enjoy Titanic. I don't think any of them are going to take it seriously enough to give it Best Musical. My hunch is that if it leads to anything, it could lead to a Leighton Williams win, because I know that that's a performance that a lot of people have been really raving about. I'm not holding out hope for it. I'm not like putting money down, but I am saying like of all the Titanic options to win, that's the one that I think could happen. I do still think Two Strangers has a good shot. It's just that I feel like people are talking about it less and less, and whether you like or didn't like Schmigadoon, that is ultimately eating up more of the conversation than people's thoughts on Two Strangers.
That's true. And I hear people talking specifically more about Christiane Pitts than Sarah Chase, if we're talking about those two shows specifically too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I hear people talking about Marla Mendel, Christiane Pitts, and occasionally Stephanie Shu. But I don't know. Yeah, I think the best leading actress in a musical, I think that's going to be a race between Christiane and Casey, do you want to say too? Like Ragtime,
I think Casey's winning. It's
yeah.
I do. I guess so. I guess we can talk about the ragtime of it all, because that is sort of what I was alluding to earlier, which is it's no secret on this podcast that I'm mid on ragtime kind of in general. I love the score. I've never really bought the musical itself. This production doesn't make me like it less. It doesn't make me like it more. I think this production is just sort of whatever. What sells it is the performances. Um, what doesn't sell it for me is pretty much everything else. Now, Ragtime and Lear have been winning all of the pre-Tony awards. She and Ragtime won at the Outer Critics Circle, which a lot of people online were like, what the fuck is that? I kind of sat here going, I mean, I think she was always going to win that. And same thing with the Drama Desk. It was like, they rarely give it to the director of an off-Broadway musical. Angelica Ball wasn't eligible in either of those awards. So like, it was always kind of going to be her. Where people kind of lost their shit was when she and Ragtime won at the Drama Leagues over Jellicle Ball, because that was like the one award that they could have won. And I maintain, like, I don't look at that as like Jellicle Ball being over. Again, 95% of the voters of the Drama Leagues do not vote at the Tonys. But the room at the Drama League is filled with members and members of the community, because all of these shows that are nominated, a lot of their cast and their creative get to go. And the same thing was true with the Drama Desks. And at the Drama Desks, what had happened was they announced the nominees for director of a musical. And they announced Lear first, and she gets kind of like tepid applause. And then they announced the director of Spelling Bee, who got massive applause, and the director of Messiest, who got massive applause. And I think Lear was the only director of a Broadway musical in that category. I don't think that Catelli or Michael Arden were nominated. But anyway, they announced that Lear was the winner. The room, again, was very tepid to her win. It was very like... And they were effusive when Josh Henry won and Casey Levy won. It was a nice round of applause when Ragtime won as a revival, but like her applause was tepid. And so then a friend who was at the Drama League was like, that was the same response that she got when she won there. And then she proceeded to give a speech about like the importance of her show while standing like right in front of Shaylin Livingston for Jellicle Ball, which is like just the ultimate American fiction when the white people on the board tell Jeffrey Wright, I just think we should award this book that you don't like because we need to like listen to Black voices. Well, you could call me a hater all you want. I was at Town Hall when she won, and the audience was not thrilled.
So how does... Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, half of that audience are in like the Tony conversation.
Knew the story.
Or we're not thrilled with her win in general, but like, yeah, I'm swearing to you, I'm not being biased. I was in my row and everyone was talking about it. We're like, that wasn't really the effusive applause of a winner. And then a producer friend of mine at Drama Leagues was like, yeah, no, it was the same thing there too. And so what it is like, clearly, like, she has the people who enjoy her work, the voters of these bodies, but like, those people are not the ones in the rooms talking to these people as well.
Yeah.
And then I ran into a Drama Desk voter, and they brought up Lear to me, and how they were like, should have been the Mexodus guy. That's who I voted for. I was like, oh, well, you know, Lear won. And he goes, yeah, because people don't do their research. And I went, oh, it's like, we're just saying that out in the lobby. I mean, I just repeated it on mic, but I didn't say who it was.
Well, okay. So then, from an ethical standpoint, are you voting for the person or the person's work?
That's the thing. I would
because objectively, was it good direction?
I thought not. That's the other thing. Like, here, Bob Fosse only choreographed half of Pajama Game. Jerome Robbins choreographed the other half. That's very well known now. So it's not like this is unheard of. There is the story that Martin Charnin lost director of a musical for Annie because everyone just assumed that Mike Nichols directed it for him. Now they claim that's not the case. And maybe it's not the case. Although I would say post Annie, what has Martin Charnin directed that would make you think that he's a directing genius? And what has Mike Nichols directed post Annie that would make you think he's a directing genius? I don't know.
Sometimes you get, broken clocks always right twice a day, whatever that is.
I think people would be a little less upset about that, all of that turmoil. And even those who don't know about the Bart Scher stuff, there's definitely a stank on seeing Chris Catelli's name in the playbill as a creative consultant, where it's like everyone who works in this industry is like, I know what the fuck that means. I think they would care less about that if they thought the production itself were strong enough.
It's interesting to me, I guess. I mean, yeah, the Tony voters I do know, and the Drama Desk voters and everybody, like they do. Like I've had some people like offhand just say like, yeah, I don't like that person, I can't vote for them, or the way they treat their cast or the way they treat so and so. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that just, you know, like I said, a while ago. Like I said a while ago, it's one of these things where you need to present publicly that everything's put together and rock hard, solid, and has no problems, when like something as great as Maybe Happy Ending barely made it to opening because ticket sales were so bad until word of mouth got out.
Exactly.
You know, like this, you want people to believe in your project no matter what's going on. You have to. That's the business.
I mean, that's the narrative people have about why Leah wasn't nominated for Chess, was like, oh, well, people still don't like her. I'm like, well, yeah, a lot of them probably still don't and don't buy her redemption arc, but also, you know, it ties into the work itself. But there are some people who weren't nominated this year who have yet to be nominated for Tonys and wonder why. I'm like, they don't have the best reputation as a person.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, I talk about like snubs and stuff. Is that why you think Leah Michele didn't get a nomination?
I mean, I just don't think she was very good in Chess, but like the best actress lineup we have is the one I would pick. I think every woman in that category is rightfully there, but I think that the nominators clearly didn't hate Chess. They nominated it in quite a few places. They ultimately did not nominate it for revival or director or book of a musical of which they were eligible. So clearly it wasn't an overwhelming like. It's more like we like pieces, not most of the main pieces, but pieces. So
Right.
I think that, in addition to maybe a few people still not buying Leah's redemption, tied into that. But again, it's sort of, you know, everyone always knew Scott Rudin was a dick and had no problem giving him awards. And like with Salesman, you know, ultimately the work itself is good enough. And I think also with something like Salesman, you can also go, well, I'm rewarding Joe Mantello, I'm rewarding Laurie Metcalf and Nathan Lane.
Fair. That is, yeah.
Actually, wait, that was something that was interesting in the Drama Desk too. They won Revival, and that was one of the very first awards of the night. And so Nathan Lane went up and accepted it, which I thought was very smart of Scott Rudin for him to do. And Nathan accepts the award, and he mentions Scott Rudin of like, it was his idea to make this revival happen. And there were a few boos and hisses from the audience.
Oh.
And Nathan goes, ooh, I see Scott Rudin's family's in the audience tonight. And made a joke and then said basically like, listen, you know, feel what you want about him, but he was the one who wanted this revival to happen. He's the reason why we all got together. He goes, and it's Joe Mantello that made it amazing. So like, if you like the revival, Joe Mantello is the reason why it's amazing. It exists because of Scott Rudin.
Fair. Okay.
Which
Yeah,
he knows how to parse it.
He does. And producer's going to produce, I guess. I mean,
You
like,
ought to know.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's like depending on ultimately like who brings in who and who talks to who first, and it's so territorial to bring in to produce and to be like, no, this, you know, because if you want the credit, if you want to be credited with a certain stature in the program, which equates to a certain amount of residuals or box office cut or whatever the case is, all of this is it's like everyone's against each other, and it's so flippin' frustrating to be able to just like put it aside and say like, let's just make good work. But you know, just I guess like, again, going back again, this is a business, and there's going to be people you don't like in every business, and you got to figure out a way to work with them and work through them and with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but going back to Scott Rudin too, like, dude probably can put 4 people in a room that are like, all right, now you 4 go out and find 20, and that's going to raise the budget. And then he didn't do much of anything except make the connections, and then he gets credited with lead producer.
I think that he is someone who's a bit more directly involved with that stuff than you would imply.
Yes, I agree with you, but I'm saying there is a world where that happens.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I would think very quietly he's been pulling a lot of strings.
I mean, he was still producing music, man. Just his name wasn't on it. You know, it was I talk about this all the time. Like, Broadway is not innocent about this stuff. There are people who maybe were honored or mentioned at the drama desks on Monday who, like, their names would have been in that New York Times Me Too article that got killed, but also everyone knows it. So it's just one of those things of like everyone needs to work, everyone wants to work, everyone wants to do a good job, and I'm not here to like expose everybody, but it is interesting how these things happen, and I get really frustrated when, like, I'm sort of like, you can either be an asshole and do amazing work, or you can be a really kind person and kind of like underwhelm me on stage. Like, you can't be an asshole and do underwhelming work. And there are a few of those people right now, and I'm just like, you either need to get nicer or get better. Which one are you gonna do?
Get nicer or get better. Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's why a lot of people keep throwing money at people who are dicks, because they do good work.
Yeah, they're like, they unfortunately they bring it to every ball. I mean, some of our greatest theater artists were absolute assholes: Jerome Robbins, Bob Fosse, Michael Bennett, but they did give us history, which brings us back to the Tonys, because ultimately awards don't matter in terms of, it doesn't actually tell you whether what you did was unworthy or not. It's just that it's a marketing tool. But also, I think on a larger scale, it's a really nice context for us to discuss art because it's subjective. And so rather than say, like, in years from now, you can look back on this year and go, okay, well, like, how did that win over this when 30 years later, seems like such the clear winner, or what was going on in voters' heads at the time? And it happens all the time. People always talk about the Follies versus Two Gentlemen of Verona. How could that have happened? Or I don't know. There's other plays that were such sensations when they opened, and no one does them anymore. Have you done Tea House of the August Moon, Alan Seale?
Every night in my shower.
I don't even have an answer to that. But yeah. So like on that front, what are things that you are hearing sort of like overwhelming buzz for, that you're like kind of confident about making predictions?
Yeah, I mean, like Joshua Henry, no, that is the overwhelming 100% going to take it home. Like that in and of itself, he's the only one that without a doubt I would be very happy to put money on.
There are plenty of people from Ragtime I would be happy to win. He's the only one where I definitely would be like, I'll put down $200 because I know I'm getting it back.
Yes. I mean, just looking at the nomination, like best play, I want Liberation to win, because it was very enlightening and pushed so many boundaries in a very good way.
And you liked the top of Act 2.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I liked Liberation a lot. The Balusters is probably the play I preferred more, but Liberation I think would be a phenomenal winner, and I'm not upset about it.
Yeah, plus it's going to win the Pulitzer Prize. They've announced that. Like it's got some precursors, as you were saying.
Oh, yeah, and also I also should say I do think Liberation is winning. Whether I would vote for Balusters or not, it is Liberation without a doubt. Just like, speaking of drama desks, Bess Wall and Whitney White came out to present, and when I tell you the whole room was like, yeah, it's you two. We like you two.
Yeah, because they're just nice people. People like them, and they do good work.
I say it's a combo. They're good people who do good work, and we really like it when that happens.
Yes, we do. Looking at best musical, let's see: Lost Boys, Schmigadoon, Titanic, and Two Strangers. I don't know. I would be surprised if Titanic wins. Like, I think it's the underdog.
Yeah, I currently have it as the fourth likeliest to win.
Fourth out of fourth.
Yes, exactly.
Out of four. So last. Yes.
Yeah. It's my number one choice, but it's what I think is the least likely for sure. Yeah. But again, I say that because I have a hard time imagining enough of those voters taking that show seriously on a level of how good it is at being how stupid it is, because that's really hard to do.
But right now we need to laugh, and I think that goes a long way, though. I think it goes a longer way than
Ragtime if they want to laugh.
There's an uplifter. Yeah, like we have to laugh, and that's why maybe that's why Schmigadoon is such a strong contender too. I mean, I guess, yeah, Schmigadoon is more for the every theater goer, where Titanic is more for the queer culture.
Mm-hmm.
Uh
And queer appreciators.
Queer appreciated, yeah. Yeah, like, you're right. I guess it is a bit more specialized, but it still works. It works for me. Like I said, yes, I want Titanic to win, number
Mhm.
1. Um, I think it will probably go to I think it'll I don't know, probably go to Schmigadoon, and I will be surprised, but not surprised, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's more it checks more of the boxes universally.
Yeah. I think it's what these early awards can do. As I said, they're not precursors in the sense that there's no real overlap, but they can help build momentum and they can build a narrative and some excitement. And Schmigadoon, winning at the drama desks, winning at the Outer Critics Circle, winning at the winning a bunch of Cheetah Rivera awards. It gives a momentum to it of sort of, oh, like pe- people like it. It has been confirmed that this is a show that enough people like. So if you saw it and you liked it, voter, and you're on the fence about whether it's a worthwhile vote, just know other people liked it too. And I think that is where it really helps. And then people giving speeches and reminding people in the room, hey, you like me, I give good speech. That sort of, I think the power of what Queen Jean did at the drama desk was all of us going, oh, we didn't forget. Everyone jumped to their feet when she won, but then she spoke and we were like, yep. We also really love Jellicle Ball, and we agree with you, Queen Jean, that it's wonderful and important to lift up Black queer joy right now and artistry, and not just the trauma.
Yeah. No, I get it, and I think we're fighting ourselves as an industry between pushing forward underrepresented groups in seeing that type of thing on stage versus going with the I'll put in quotes guaranteed highbrow musical. I mean, because we've got Jellicle Ball versus kind of, I mean, Lost Boys is a lot of white people. Schmigadoon is a lot of white people. But you have Jellicle Ball, you have Titanic's got a bit of diversity in it. I don't know. I mean, like,
Half the Cats Are Two Strangers is diverse.
50%. You're not wrong there.
Good joke.
But I'm Ching. But yeah, not knowing the demographics of the voters too, I can't say if that plays a part in it either, but I think historically it has.
Mm-hmm.
And like we were talking about earlier, again, like the drama leagues, the drama desks, all the precursor awards, like they are becoming more diverse. But I don't know that the Tony nominators / voters, which are two separate groups, by the way, if they are as diverse as they need to be.
Yeah. The nominators do get to vote, but we're talking like 60 to 70 people as opposed to 830 in the voting body. Listen, we can always do more. We could always do better. We can always, get more eclectic in our representation, which I would love. Eventually you start just like having every single person from a different walk of life with such a different point of view that like whoever's gonna win is gonna win by like 3 votes because everyone's gonna have the most different of ballots. But I think what I like about that is that I feel like this year in so many ways there are so few guarantees, which makes me nervous because then I'm going, oh, is it my gut instinct all along? But you have to ask voters, like, the question is, how do you like it in the moment? But then also, how do you think this is going to age in the future?
Well, would that be part of your voting criteria?
It would, in the sense that
if you were allegedly a voter,
that word doesn't apply here.
Hypothetically?
There we go. There we go. Hypothetically, Alan. Hypothetically, if I were a voter, yeah, I think less of sort of like, what is my legacy as a voter, and more sort of, I can't just go with how I feel in the moment. I have to actually overanalyze after the fact and think like, okay, yes, I got swept up in the show, but now that I'm sitting with it, was that good or was that just a moment in the woods? And I do like to think about, is this show going to feel as good 10 years from now as it does in this moment? And some I do. Like, I think Liberation is going to age like fine wine.
Mm-hmm.
Actually think The Ballisters is going to age like fine wine. Giant's probably not going to age super well. It's a bit bumpy of a play, although they announced recoupment. Good for them. I do think Aya Cash is going to age like fine wine with that hair and that dress and those shoes. Girlfriend's an icon. But then, yeah, I think you also kind of want to ask yourself as a voter, like, where do I want theater to head to? Do I want it to stay exciting and be new, or do I want it to go to the lowest common denominator? There are certain shows that get nominated, and I'm like, I think they don't. Like, I think a lot of jukebox musicals don't win because voters look at them as the lowest common denominator, and like, we don't want this to be what theater ultimately becomes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it, like, Moulin Rouge doesn't count because that was a COVID year, but like the last genuine jukebox musical to win Best Musical was Jersey Boys 20 years ago.
And that was one of the first.
Oh, definitely one of the best ones too. Like but it was also such a phenomenon that they couldn't not vote for it. It by that point it had been running for almost a year, and it was such a sensation.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's one of those things that came in, tried something new and worked, and then everybody's been trying to copy it since because financially it's easier to adapt existing songs than to write completely new ones and make those work. If you're taking existing hits and adapting them to the stage, great. That you've already got a built-in hit. So
I think with the difference though is no one involved with Jersey Boys expected it to become what it was. So the Four Seasons were incredibly honest in their interviews for the script. And so all four of them on stage don't come off super great, but it makes it exciting drama. And then it became a $1 billion musical. And then after that, all the other jukebox musicals were like, so in order to get the songs from the artist, we need to paint them in the rosiest of pictures, and they have no flaws. And here are all their songs.
what do you think? Do you think there are going to be any upsets?
I think there are opportunities for it. Yeah, I think I think that there are certain categories where there's a perceived front runner, and then I think that there's a world in which that front runner could be upset. Like I don't think that Josh is getting upset. I don't think that Casey's getting upset at this point. I thought for maybe a minute Marla or even Christiani could possibly win, but I think that's pretty locked and loaded. I think Ben Levi Ross is at this moment the front runner for featured actor in a musical, but I do think that both Leighton Williams and Andre DeShields are sort of potential upsetters there. Leighton because that's a nomination that voters can vote for Titanic if they liked it a lot but can't bring themselves to vote for it for musical or book. Andre because of his legacy, he's 80 and still doing the damn thing. It's a chance to award sort of like the whole cast of Cats, which I know many people go, that's not logical. That's not how math works. I'm like, no, but that's how voters sometimes work.
Yeah, well, just showing up sometimes is enough to win something. I totally get that.
Yeah. And then who's the rest there? It's Ali for Lost Boys. I think Ali could win if Lost Boys won musical, but ultimately I think if Lost Boys wins musical, that just guarantees Shoshana Bean winning more than anything else. I don't think anyone has any clue what's happening in featured actress in a musical.
Featured actress in a musical. Let's see. So let me pull this up.
I just can't get a consensus on it. Everyone is all over the place.
Featured actress. Actress in a featured musical. Let's play in a musical. Okay, so we got that's actor. Shobeen, Hannah Cruz, Rachel Dratch, Anna Gasteyer, Nichelle Lewis. Again, I love these two individuals. I don't think Anna and Rachel and Dratch. I don't think Anna and Dratch are on the same competitive performance level as the rest of the other three.
I think
with
Anna
their roles.
I think Anna has a chance because if Shmoogadoon ends up being best musical, that helps her case. I don't. The truth is, Rachel is probably my vote in this category, but I also think, similar to Titanic, Rachel I think is the 5th likeliest winner in this category.
Why is she your vote though? Are you just a Rocky Horror fan?
No, I thought that she nailed her assignment, and I know that she had had a lot of trouble in previews, kind of figuring out how to handle the callbacks and whatnot. But by the time I saw her, I thought she was locked in and really kind of kept the train going without it seeming like they were ignoring the audience. Like she handled it all really well. I thought that she had the right arch B-level campy tone about her. Uh, I've been very vocal about thinking Hannah Cruz is the best performance in chess, and she
Oh,
probably
what?
would be
Yeah,
like my second vote.
yeah.
And then Shoshana, I think Shoshana just like has built a career post COVID of being the grounded presence in a chaotic show. This Hell's Kitchen, Mr. Saturday Night, just like all of these personalities, and Shoshana's the one who just sort of like holds calm and holds center, and always in the kitchen too. But and I think she's lovely in it. I think the biggest problem in her way with Lost Boys, similar to Anna, is like so much of Act One isn't about her. But I think a lot of featured roles that win tend to be a little more like sprinkled out throughout the entire evening. You know, you look at last year, Jack Malone and Natalie, they were sprinkled out throughout the evening. The year before that, who was that? That was Daniel Radcliffe and Keisha Lewis. Again, sprinkled throughout the evening. Like Keisha Lewis, they kill her off halfway through Act Two, but she still gets to come back for the finale. So, you know, it's a nice spreading out. Anna has really nothing to do in Act One, but then like Act Two does kind of belong to her. So yeah, everyone has the same problem in opposite directions. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, I know, and the fact that they're even nominated too. I mean, it shows that they're making the most. They're bringing their best selves, which are incredible performers. They're bringing their best selves to these roles that, by no fault of their own, are not in the whole show. They're
No.
featured. They're literally, yeah, they're featured.
They're genuine featured performances. Yeah, but
Yes.
that's sort of what I mean is just like you look at the last 10-ish years of featured performances, and they aren't really like specialty spots. They're more like large ensemble pieces. The days of Marilyn Cooper getting 8 minutes in the second act of Woman of the Year and winning are kind of gone.
Fair. That's
Yeah.
very fair. Yeah, I want Hannah's my vote for this one.
It's a great vote. I
'Cause-
also thought that was a wig she was wearing in chess. I think it's her actual hair.
Is
and
it
if
really?
so- I think so. I think so. If it is her actual hair,
No, because she went blonde.
yeah, I thought it was a wig, but then on Instagram I was looking the other day because I don't follow any of these people. But I saw her like it was a candid photo and it looked like the same hair she had on stage. And I went, did she genuinely dye her hair blonde for this?
I actually don't know if that is her real hair or not. I don't know. I
If
saw someone. I talked to someone the other day who had just seen Titanic. It was like, oh, Melissa Barrera. If you had not told me she had dark hair, I'd think she was a redhead because that wig looks so good on her.
the wigs in Titanic are quite exceptional, and I would nominate Chess for a wig, Tony, for Hannah Cruz's hair alone if it's actually a wig. But I also think that Leah's bobs are bad, so I don't know. I'm happy.
That's why she didn't get nominated. She's just bad wig.
Bad wigs. Listen, it can kill you. Believe me. I mean, I think that's what cost Vosk the nomination. Those awful Bette Midler wigs.
Why did they choose to make those characters look like Bette Midler? You don't need to do that.
You don't need to do that. But also, like, why do they keep putting Betty? No, I was about to call her Betty Gilpin. Why do they keep putting Kelly Barrett in like helmet heads wigs? Like, she's such a pretty girl. Let her look pretty.
I don't know, but I wanted this. I wanted Beaches to be so good for Kelly among everybody else because like Kelly is such one of the most talented people I've seen on stage, and she deserves her due.
She deserves a hit.
And she deserves a hit. And yeah, it's just the luck of the draw so far.
I know she's got girl's got bad luck when it comes to original musicals, and it's awful because you're right. No, she deserves better. I remember seeing her in Chicago, and just thinking this musical does not deserve you.
Yeah, ultimately.
It's like, take yourself out for a pitcher of margaritas because you are doing the Lord's work. You and Paul Alexander Nolan.
They need an award for like characters that should have been cut and given it to both men in Beaches.
Yeah. Oh my God. Both Beaches is just like, what are men? We don't care. Which is great.
Ultimately, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. There are things that I don't get. I mean, and this is not unpopular opinion of like things like Queen of Versailles, didn't show up anywhere in the nominations, but like
Mhm.
I don't ever think I think that had a lot of potential had they listened and incorporated the feedback from the out of town. But they just didn't. Like what the egos behind some of this. Go back to the producing side, the creative side.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I did not see it out of town. I know people who did see it out of town and then saw it on Broadway, and they're like, they found a way to cut 30 minutes, but no like actual changes have happened. Like no major song changes have happened or anything like that. And so I don't know what that was about. Because seeing Queen of Versailles, I talked about this on the podcast as well. I saw it with Chenoweth, and I was like, I don't know why this musical exists. And then I saw it with Sherry, and I went, oh, I think I know what the idea was. But why do you think you guys found the way to tell it? Like, because you didn't. I think I know what story you want to tell, and it's a good idea, but this is not how you tell it. Although
Yeah.
I maintain Caviar Dreams is a good song, and I actually probably would have still given them a score nomination, but, ultimately, the Tony nominator said Joe Turner's Come and Gone has more score that we like.
What did you think about Lost Boys? Like the Rescues writing that album?
Like, what did I think of their work or the Lost Boys?
Of the music itself. Because I've left Lost Boys and immediately looked up the Rescues and listened to their music on the way home.
I liked the music a lot. I think musically it's lovely. I think where that score kind of falters is I don't love a lot of the lyrics. Not in a super cringy way, but more sort of in a, oh, this is your first time writing musical theater lyrics. Like it's a little on the nose. It's a little like overly earnest. And then reading by Michael Arden how the vibe they were going for was 80s mega musicals, and I went, oh, okay, then in that sense, yeah, they probably did the assignment well. But I would like to hear their second score because I do think I think I think they've got a good idea of emotion in a musical theater landscape. I would like to see them continue that in a more specific, less extravagant setting to see what kind of lyrics they write for that, because I'm not sure like how Sondheimian you can be with teenage vampires in the 1980s. I don't think you can write an Everybody Loves Louie in that situation.
Right, right. Well, that's again, that's part of why like I like The Outsiders. I do like Lost Boys. I'm in thumbs up camp for Lost Boys, for a couple different reasons, but and that was part of. I mean, I've always just kind of liked the non-Webbers, the non-Sondheims, the less traditional path taken for musical theater. Because Rent was originally what got me into loving musical theater when I was late high school, early college, dating myself there. But yeah, like that was like, I remember senior year of high school driving around with the T-tops out in my Firebird, blasting the cast album of Rent, like that was me.
I was
So
applying for Social Security when I got my Rent album.
like a day over 102.
Thank you. It's the Vaseline.
It's the Vaseline I put on my armpits. Prevents the chafing.
I mean, the truth is, like, of the 3 musicals nominated for score, I actually probably would vote for Lost Boys. I think that Two Strangers has the best lyrics out of all 3. I think that Schmigadoon getting nominated for score is kind of ridiculous because ultimately it's majority what was written for the TV show. They claim, we wrote a bunch of new songs. It's songs that existed that have some new lyrics. That's what it is.
Fun fact I heard today straight from the horse's mouth, who's known as Mackenzie Kurtz, that she auditioned for the TV show.
And they said, no, thank you.
They said, no, thank you. And then look where she is now.
Yeah, they said, we want somebody who has been on the Disney Channel.
Yep. Well, I mean, look at the problem we've got. Again, going back to capitalism and the fact that Giant recouped, not because it's a great play, but I mean, it's a good play, but it's got John Lithgow in it. You're going to go see John and get a good play out of it. The performance is phenomenal.
Well, I think Giant is a situation of it's a small company, not extravagant. It's a British import, so it comes with buzz and Olivier wins. John Lithgow is a name. The Roald Dahl of it all is, it's subject matter that people can understand. It's a play that absolutely caters to the Upper West, Upper East Side theater goers. Like, you don't need 1 million people to pay $150 to see your show. You just need $90,000 to pay $200. And there are 90,000 Manhattan people and some in New Jersey and some in Connecticut who will pay that to see it.
Right. Yeah. I guess. I mean, I'm thinking of things that like, yeah, people pay money for. I guess I'm going back to like the cost of Broadway for Denzel Washington, Jake Gyllenhaal,
Oh, Othello?
Othello, like famously what $1,000 front row seats,
Something like that, yeah.
something like that. But other great performances too. Oedipus, I loved.
Alan, you have to say its name correctly.
Oedipus,
There we go.
Oedipus,
Oedipus.
Oedipus. You know the ending. Everybody should. Everyone should know the ending. And the fact that I was on the edge of my seat being like, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do this? When's the shoe going to drop? When's the other shoe going to drop? I thought it was executed brilliantly. And then across the board, phenomenal performances, no notes.
Leslie Manville is one of the other categories that I am locked in on, that I'm just that's happening. She's winning actress in a play.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
I think that plays are actually kind of a little more locked in for me than the musicals. Like I think Liberation is winning. I do think Salesman is winning. Oedipus could give it a run for its money, but ultimately Salesman is currently running. That's always an advantage, which of course then goes against my whole thing about Liberation. But Liberation just won the Pulitzer, and the Ballisters is closing at the end of June anyway. Giant is closing at the end of June anyway, so it doesn't matter that Liberation is closed. And I think that Leslie Manville is winning actress. I think that Laurie Metcalf is winning featured actress. I think that it's down to Nathan and John Lithgow for actor. Part of me thinks it's going to be Lithgow because he'll be like the one award for Giant. Part of me is like, I don't know. What if Nathan wins in like this big old sweep for Salesman? Because I think Joe Mantello ultimately is winning. And then if he doesn't win, it'll be Whitney White for Liberation. Featured actor is sort of up for grabs. I don't know where that's going. My heart says Alden for Becky Shaw, but maybe it's Ruben Santiago Hudson. Maybe it's Christopher Abbott. I don't know. Help me.
Let's see. I'm pulling this up. Lady Roller, Christopher Abbott. Okay, best performance by an actor in a featured role in a play. We got Chris Abbott, Danny Burstein, who I love, by the way. Let's see. Brandon J. Durden, Aldrin, Aaron Reich,
yeah.
Ruben Santiago Hudson, and Richard Thomas. Yeah, legitimately could not tell you who this was going to go to.
I mean, I can tell you who I would let do things to me in what order in this category.
Do me the order, sir.
Well, it depends on what task I'm asking them to do. Alden is stepping on my neck. Christopher Abbott is pulling my hair. Ruben Santiago Hudson is educating me. Danny Burstein is comforting me. And then Richard Thomas is scolding me.
That's a Far Side comic waiting to happen.
Yeah, I get abused, then I get healed, and then I get shamed.
Was this all happening simultaneously or one after the other?
I don't think I can handle it simultaneously. I need it to happen in succession. I mean, 5 minutes apiece, but yeah, in succession.
5 minutes each? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's 25 minutes of pure fun, I guess.
The thing is that, I guess I'll say this. The two who I really doubt are going to get this are Danny for Marjorie Prime and Richard Thomas for the Ballisters. I love that Richard got in. I think that, as I said, I think the Ballisters has an amazing ensemble. Danny getting in is wonderful. Marjorie Prime, for me, best acting of the season across the board. But Marjorie Prime is closed. Ballisters is quite an ensemble piece. And I think if anyone's going to win for the Ballisters, it would be Mary Louise Burke.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's the biggest threat Laurie Metcalf has. And then it goes down to Alden, Chris, and Ruben. No, Alden, Chris, Ruben, and then who's the fourth? Alden, Chris, Ruben,
Danny,
Richard. But no, there's a sixth one.
Brandon.
Oh, Brandon J. Dearden for Waiting for Godot, also not happening. Thrilled he's in there, not happening. So yeah, no, so it's Chris, Alden, and Ruben. Of those three, I would vote for Alden. I think Ruben has a great narrative. Chris is in the more kind of like seismic cultural hit right now,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps his case a lot. And like whether we want to admit it or not, these things matter. They infiltrate our brains when we're thinking about the quality of the performance, and especially when it comes down to like, oh well, it's these two, and I don't know who to pick. Well, Ruben's such a legend, and he won only 35 years ago or whenever it was, and he deserves to win again. Or are you investing in the stage careers of Christopher Abbott and Alden Ehrenreich?
Well, that comes down again to what I'm going to call, for lack of a better term, personal branding.
Mm,
Because, like, if it's all things being equal, performance wise, show wise, you're going to go with, like, at the back of your head, unconsciously, you're going to go with who you like more.
mm-hmm,
And that comes from familiarity. Who smiled at you? Who's had a great relation? Who gave you a good interaction on a red carpet once? Whatever all of that is, it all goes back to branding. And so that's like this time of the year, this May is always terrible in I guess a good way for publicists and the nominees, because they're out there for this exact reason, not only doing their 8 shows a week, but going in press interview after interview after performance after interview, because they want to be out there campaigning to be top of mind, front and center, when people are thinking of who to vote for. Oh, again, I'm only as good as the last thing that you've seen me in. Well, if the last thing you saw me in this morning was an interview on Good Morning America, I guess I'll vote for you.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, people have reached out to me about sort of like, oh, did you see the cast interview about this and that? Like, does that sway you in any way? And I'm sure it sways some people. For me, it always comes down to the actual show itself and then sort of how it's been sitting with me over time. But I mean, also, listen, the whole idea of investment is true as well, not just in terms of productions, but in terms of the people. In order to keep having good theater, we need to invest in the people we think are going to make the good theater. So, voting for Joe Mantello or Whitney White is a good investment. They make good theater. Uh, if I vote for Alden Ehrenreich, will he come back to Broadway again? Well, like, am I throwing it away to a movie actor who, who came to theater on a lark and won't ever be here again? I think in a lot of ways, people get PTSD with like James Corden, right? Of he wins for One Man, Two Governors, deservedly so. It was a phenomenal performance, but he grabs that Tony and runs to Hollywood. And I think a lot of people are like, fuck, like we could have given that to somebody else who would have taken that Tony and invested it in Broadway, and he didn't.
Was Art this season or last season?
It was this season, but what does that matter?
I thought he was great.
He was the best thing in it for sure, and I hate to say that because I don't
yeah.
like the man.
Yeah, he was by far the best thing in it.
And listen, it took him 14 years to come back,
That's fair.
Yeah. I will say there is a certain vibe I get this season on certain shows based off like of what's been winning and sort of where the fandoms are of like, it's not necessarily from past theater seasons, but last year with the Amelia Perez of it all, where
Yep.
Amelia Perez kind of kept winning all of these awards and everyone else in the world was like, the fuck is happening? And it ultimately took like a major cancellation for that movie to topple at the Oscars. But I do think that there's something to be said for the disparity between what like what theater fans see and then what voters see, and then wondering like, does that influence voters at all? Are they aware of sort of the online presence of any of these nominees or not?
I don't know. Again, that goes back to the representation. And are you voting for what you want theater to be, or are you voting for, like, as a critic, are you voting for what you like? Because it's oftentimes two different paths.
Mm-hmm.
I want show A to be inspirational and door opening and great for a certain subset of people or a certain type of theater goers that we need to have more of in the theater to make better work. But then it's not going to sell tickets in the long run, so I'll vote for the other thing and be part of the cool kids club. Or like, again, if you're a theater reviewer, a theater critic, Are you going to vote for what you thought was the best show or what you think is the most impactful message wise or
People pick and choose with that shit
yeah,
though.
yeah.
It's because they'll do it for like play, or they'll do it for, I don't know, revival of a musical. Not usually, but sometimes. But if voters were voting based off of, oh, this is really prescient for right now, Cabaret would have beaten Merrily We Roll Along. But ultimately, that revival was not liked as much, or one would argue, at all. But
Yeah.
or like Harmony would have been nominated for 20 Tonys because people would have talked about like, well, considering everything that's going on right now with anti-Semitism, it's really a beautiful commentary. And then they blanked at nominations. And I think that I was asking you that question about social media kind of with my own answer in my head, but also was genuinely interested in your thoughts, which is like, I don't think that voters ultimately care what people say online, because if there's one thing voters hate, it's being told who to vote for.
Hmm.
And there are some, I think the worst Tony campaigns are the ones that actually lead with the like, here's why we're important. Uh, it's why I really enjoyed Queen Jean's speech at the Drama Desks, because like ultimately it was about the craft and why she loved the show and why she thought the show was good, and then kind of ended it with, not in this exact words, but the ultimate understanding of like, for those of you who need a reason to think Cats is important, to take it seriously, here's why it's important.
Hmm.
Um, and said so brilliantly. But yeah, I mean, I think that there are a handful of people who think to themselves, well, the subject matter is just so important right now. Usually it's sort of like, important subject matter, hated how they handled it though, so I'm going to go for the show that maybe was less important but did the thing, to quote
Yeah.
Ariana DeBose.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember, I forget what year it is, but when Hadestown won over the prom, um, that was a big, at least in my circles, that was an upset. I don't know if that
Mhm.
was expected, but you go back to like, I think the prom was a show that needs to be out there. It's a message people need to hear. It's
Mhm.
a something, it's original story. And again, not hating on Hadestown. It's a great show, but I don't know. I mean, what's changing lives more if we're talking about social commentary, the prom or Hadestown? And the prom should.
Mhm.
So which one do you vote for and why?
I guess this is where I'm cynical of, like, I'm not sure how many lives get changed by Broadway musicals these days, just by how expensive and exclusive they are, and also how echo chambery they can get. I think what helps, I hate to say this, the movie of The Prom probably was made more of an impact than the stage musical, just by like reaching more people,
Well,
even though the
that's
movie's far worse than the stage show.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like in a perfect world, the show that you think speaks to the moment, that is also happens to be the best musical of the season, tie in. And then sometimes it's like the musical that had the highest reach, but ultimately missed the mark, like you can't bring yourself to vote for it. And it doesn't always have to be about like important subject matter. Sometimes it's just like on an artistic level, they take all these risks. Speaking of follies, Light in the Piazza, a musical that I adore, was expected to kind of blank that year at the Tonys because everyone thought it was boring, and it ultimately won a lot of awards while missing out on musical to spam a lot, which absolutely doesn't do anything nearly as adventurous or ambitious as Light in the Piazza, but ultimately voters felt that it nailed its assignment better, even if it was a lower mark. And so, I mean, there's always that exception to the rule. And then I feel like last year, for Best Play, Purpose is a play that I like. I think it's a little fatty, but it sometimes it felt like voters voted for that because they thought it was an important piece. I think more what more contributed to that was people liking Brandon Jacobs Jenkins and being like, we want to give you a genuine Tony now, because you won for appropriate, but you didn't win for appropriate. Like you get the Tony, but like we want to give you an actual award as a writer. And I feel like that was sort of a real uh, motivation for a lot of voters, of him in particular. And then a lot of other writers in that category were newer, younger writers that I'm sure voters were like, your nomination is your award, and this is an investment for your next play, come back and do it again, and you will win.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. I mean, along those lines too, I can't wait to see what Best Wool brings up next, writes next, you know?
For a
Like
second, I thought you said best role and that you fucked up the R, and I was like,
Best
best
Wool.
role,
Best Wool. Best Wall.
best
Best
role.
Wall. Best
No, I mean,
Wall.
yeah, let's see what Miss Wall comes up with if you're nasty.
Yes. I want to see what she comes up with. Um like I have high hopes and I have high wishes, not high hopes. Knowing the financials of Jellicle Ball, I don't have high hopes, but I would be pleasantly surprised if they can last a year on their financials because it's an expensive cast. It's an expensive show.
Mm,
And it's one of those things again where I think they need to win to get that boost to keep them going, to allow them to recoup, to allow them to change more lives.
yeah.
Because it's allowing people to see themselves in a way on stage that they never have before. And it's funny because on my podcast, I've interviewed some people lately that were literally in like middle school or high school when Hamilton came out, and now they're post college, late into their 20s, and they're starting to write their own stuff or have been writing their own stuff that is sounds very much like Hamilton.
Mm,
It's very much influenced by that by Lynn reaching for the sky and hitting it and, captured lightning in a bottle. But you need something like a Tony win for Jellicle Ball to keep it going and in the zeitgeist, I think. And I do hope they get it. To inspire people to change the game and to make it, I think, in the next couple decades, we're going to have to like figure out some way to release the stranglehold that's on Broadway, because it is too exclusive. It is too expensive. And, some of that is going to come from literal political government like subsidies. If we can get that, look at how successful London and West End is because the government out there subsidizes the arts and it
mhm.
doesn't cost a bajillion dollars to go sit front row and see your favorite celebrity. Um, but yeah, something's got to change. And I think that now, we just need to be voting for, well, I don't know. We need to be voting for the best show, and whatever the best means to you is obviously very subjective. But for me, I would vote for something that's gonna make a lasting impression.
Yeah.
If they hit their goal, what's beyond that? It's gonna make a lasting impression and be important to people.
Yeah. And just what excites you and not necessarily what makes you feel good. I don't want to go on that because I think that what makes you feel good is a slippery slope to then like what kind of numbs you into complacency. Uh the the comeback I always say to people, because you know me, Alan, I'm an asshole. Uh
I do.
yeah,
I
and
I
I
know you're asshole. Yeah.
and I'll talk to friends or whatever, and they'll be like, "What'd you think of Pretty Woman?" I'm like, "It's a piece of shit." And they'll be like, "Well, my mom came in from the burbs and she loved it, and yeah, she doesn't, go to a lot of high art theater, but I'm like, yeah, listen, she enjoyed her experience, whatever." And they go, "Well, say what you will, but like." It makes her feel good. It brings her joy, and it makes other people feel good and brings them joy. And I always say, you could say the same thing about crack.
You're
That's
always
not
chasing the
enough.
high.
That's not enough for me to then say, but of course, you're right. Here's its success. No. Like, yeah, feel good all you want, but also, like, I want to be, if the show that can both challenge and excite me at the same time, much like you do with me personally every day, Alan. That's the magic of theater, and I don't want to go into any specific show this season, but there have been a few, some plays, some musicals where I'm like, oh, this is both, as you said with like Oedipus, what it's about, and yet that production flips it on its head. And that's sort of the challenge of, oh, like I thought I came in knowing where all the plot points were going to be, and yet like it's completely thrown me. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is challenging and it excites me. And I feel good because I'm seeing something that's challenging and exciting me, not just something that's like uh embolstering what I already know or what I felt beforehand going in.
Well, that's why I say, like, when I'm thinking of revivals, there's only three in the category of revival of musical, like Jellicle Ball, Ragtime, and Rocky Horror. And if you're going off of the criteria that I like to talk about a lot on my podcast, is if you're going to revive something, make it different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's got to be a reason to bring it back. And
Well,
and Jellicle Ball did exactly that.
yeah.
Exactly.
Listen, Ragtime, Rocky Horror, I think brought Rocky Horror brought that property to a space that that's very meta. It's in Studio 54. Cats took felines and made them puss. And Ragtime was like, what if the turn of the century looked like AI? They all do something very different. But no, I hear you. I hate the argument from people who are like, but it's Cats. It's not a very good musical. Even though I like this production, I'm like, then you should vote for it for a revival because that's the whole fucking point. But this is not a Cats.
If you hated it before and you liked it now, it did its job. It hit the
did
mark.
its job.
Yeah.
I point to yet again John Doyle's revival of The Color Purple, a show that when it was on Broadway the first time, it made money, but it did not do well at the Tonys. Critics were not big on it. And like a lot of us in the theater community were like, yeah, we're happy LaChanze has a Tony, but like that show wasn't very good. And then that revival came and we all went, oh, I'm so sorry. I think this show actually is good. We were wrong. Thank you for this. And like that's why they won revival in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I was looking at the plays here too. I mean, Oedipus, Fallen Angels. I liked Fallen Angels. I thought Rose and Kelly's performances were wonderful. The show didn't blow me away. Even actually, Every Brilliant Thing I thought was performed very well by Mr. Radcliffe, by Mr. Potter. I haven't seen Mariska, but that's a completely different energy. Like it's a very serious subject matter, right? And Dan comes off just very lighthearted and bubbly about it because that's who he is, and I think that's a wonderful juxtaposition. And I'm worried that Mariska won't carry that through. Not that that is relevant to our Tony discussion. And then who did they just announce today? There's another announcement today.
Tracy Ellis Ross.
Tracy Ellis Ross. And it wasn't today, a day or two ago. Yeah, gonna make her Broadway debut doing it too. I think she might be good.
I think she's actually kind of in perfect casting.
Yeah.
And I love Mariska, but granted, I have not seen her outside of SVU. I don't think the world has in 30 years. So it's like, we all know her as this big heavy. So it'll be interesting to see what that is. The revival of a play category is mostly fine. I would take out either Every Brilliant Thing or Fallen Angels for Marjorie Prime. Fallen Angels is fun. It absolutely is mostly just an excuse for Kelly and Rose to look stunning, get sloppy, and then look weird, which I'm all here for. I love that those two women are doing that with each other. I think that's a joy. And then Every Brilliant Thing I've talked about, like, I think Daniel's great. It's a fun experience. I don't know if I think of much of it as a play. And I don't think that this production necessarily does anything to improve that for me. It was a fun experience, but I don't think I thought much of it outside of the community gathering that it provides. It's a community building exercise.
Right. So then if we're going by our criteria that we were just talking about for revival of a musical, then if I didn't like it before and I like it now, then Oedipus has my vote. Hands down.
There you go. Yeah. I think Oedipus would have my vote too. The only way Salesman would have my vote over Oedipus, and I'm sort of splitting hairs here, but ultimately Oedipus was like so at the top of the year for me. Salesman was a play that I knew very well. I had seen before, and I went in being like, oh, okay, here we go. And it surprised me. But Oedipus, as you said, like, it is this thing that everybody just knows and still made you go, what's going to happen next? I think where people get a little up in arms about it, understandable, is that it's not the Sophocles text. It is a rewritten, modernized text. And so one could argue it's actually a new play inspired by Oedipus Rex, which is fair, but it's in revival, and thus that's where I shall vote for it.
Well, let's see. The original play, let's see, best play. We've got Ballister's Giant, Liberation, Little Bear Ridge Road. I guess we could add it. I mean, you could have 5.
Yeah, I think if Oedipus were considered a new play, I think that would have been enough for us to have 5 nominees. Maybe. Before, if we had Oedipus, and then we had
Ballister's Giant, Liberation, Little Bear Ridge Road.
13. Call Me Izzy. Is there a 9th play in there? 9th new play? I feel like there is. I feel like I'm missing one. I'm currently up to 8. Maybe we still would have only had 4. Was All Out considered for Tony's? I feel like it was. So maybe that would have been 8.
Oh, right. Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe that would have been 9. I don't know. I don't do damn math.
This math ain't mathin'.
Yes, exactly. This Matt ain't mathin'.
But
Okay, I think that's Punch, right? So Punch, that would have been 9. Sorry, we had
Ooh.
Call Me Izzy, Punch. That's 2. Liberation.
I forgot that was this season. Punch. I loved Punch. That hit, no pun intended, hit me hard.
Alan,
Yes, sir.
who did you see Punch with?
You.
Yeah, that's why you loved Punch.
Well, we left and we were like, punch drunk.
Punch drunk and in love. I talk about it all the time. That Act 2 scene with Will Harrison, Victoria Clark, Sam Robards, and the therapist. That group scene.
Mm-hmm.
Could have heard a pin drop in that theater.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful shit.
I'm bummed that didn't get nominated now that I realized that was this season.
It was. He got nominated.
Right.
And the show just won the Olivier. But yeah. I mean, yeah. It's tight.
It is. It's a tight race.
So I haven't given many predictions right now. I will do more so in a week or two. But Alan, in this moment, right here, right now, do you want to give a prediction, or do you want to tell us who you'd vote for in like the top couple of categories, and then we'll sign off?
All right. Let's see. Best play, Liberation. I've already said that.
Mm-hmm.
Best musical. Oh God, this is tough. I would vote for Titanic, but I'm gonna say it's gonna go to Lost Boys.
Okay.
All right. Best book. I
need everybody watching this on YouTube because Alan is fucking with a pen right now.
Gosh, who would I vote for? For book, I would give this, I think, also to Titanic.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna go to Schmigadoon.
Mm-hmm.
Best original score written for the theater. We've got Death of a Salesman, Joe Turner's Come and Gone, Lost Boys, Schmigadoon, Two Strangers. Original score, Lost Boys. I would vote for. I really liked it. Don't know who it would go to, but I'm going Lost Boys. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Revival of a play. Revival, Oedipus. We talked about that. Revival of a musical, Jellicle Ball. We talked about that. Performance of an actor in a leading role in a play. Oh man, Mark Strong and Oedipus. That performance, though. Know what I'm saying? But Will
I
Harris
sat next to him at the drama desks, by the way.
Whew. Did you tell him that?
I said, "Hey, speaking of Oedipus, I'm right here."
Hey, buddy. Oh man, between Will Harris, John Lithgow, and Mark Strong. Oh, dude. I'm gonna go with Will Harrison.
Great.
I'm voting for Will Harrison. Let's see, best performing actor.
He loves your love.
Actress in a leading role in a play. Oh man, Carrie Coon was great. Rose Byrne was great. Susanna Flood was great. Leslie Manville in Oedipus. Kelly O'Hara. She was great too. Least, I think her character was the least interesting out of all of those 5 characters. I'm gonna go with Susanna. I'm going with Susanna Flood on this one.
Nice.
Best performance by an actor in a leading role in a musical. Oh man, Nicholas Christopher, Joshua Henry, Brandon Branowitz. I love Brandon. He's a friend of mine. I think Joshua's gonna take it. But that's a tough category. This is a really tough category.
Watch me vote for Sam Tutty just to fuck with everybody.
Okay, I'll give you 2 more. Let's see. Performance by an actress in a leading role in a musical. Sarah Chase, Stephanie Shu, Casey Levy, Marla Mandel, Christiane Pitts. Who left me saying, God, I want to see her again? Casey or Marla? Casey or Christiane? Casey or Marla? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a Tony by its toe. I'm going with Marla. Hot take.
Love if you're voting for Titanic, that makes sense to me.
Right. I mean, again, you want to go for the big story, knowing where that came from, how she personally involved with where it was versus where it is now. She deserves all the awards. Great.
And so you said revival of musical, you said Jellicle Ball. Revival of a play, you said Oedipus.
Yes.
So, director of a play, would you go Whitney White for Liberation, or would you go Robert Ick for Oedipus?
I'm going to go Whitney White.
Great.
I'm going Whitney White on that one.
I love that for you. I love that for her.
Yeah. Any other categories that you know I'm going to drop my
Sound
K-bombs
design
on?
of a musical. What are you doing? What's happening? What's going
Set
on?
design?
Sound design.
Sound design. Oh, let me pull this up. I'm sucking on my pen here, folks. It makes great microphone noises. All right, sound design of a play. Justin Ellington. Let's see. So Justin Ellington for Joe Turner's Come and Gone. Tom Gibbons for Oedipus. Lee Kinney for 13. Josh Schmidt for Bug. Mikhail Sulain for Art. Oh, man. Sound design of a play. I'm going Bug. I thought that was great. That was great.
I love looking in left field and finding you there. So
going strong with Bug on that one. I was like, oh man,
I love that. I love it.
Those are good nature noises.
Yeah. Alan, thank you so much for joining us today and for joining all the chaos of the breakdown.
Of course, happy to have you. Happy to be here. Happy to
have me. Yes, it's true.
I'm happy you're having me.
So stupid. Where can people find you if you want them to find you?
Oh my goodness. At theater_podcast. That's TRE on most of the channels, most of the socials. Thetheaterpodcast.com. I have both RE and ER. So either one, you type it in, you'll find me. You can find me on the Broadway Podcast Network. And yeah, that's everything. Hit me up on any of those. But yeah, hit me up on those. Let me know you listened. Say, hey, I listened to you on the Koplik Files. Let me know you're out there.
I think we should change that name, sir. I don't like that one bit.
The Koplik Files.
The Coplings. That's what we're calling it.
This episode has been so copalicious.
Maybe so combinations for you, babe. Okay, you guys, if you like this podcast, maybe not this episode, but if you like this podcast,
fuck you.
Please give us a nice 5-star rating or review. You can follow me on Instagram at Matt Koplik only, usual spelling. Join the Substack or the Discord. If you haven't yet, make sure to get your tickets to our June 1st live show at Green Room 42, the slightly early Tony Award show for Broadway Breakdown. And yeah, that's it. Oh, and then a fun thing, you'll see a link in the description box for this episode, but there is a new company that's slowly emerging that I found via Instagram. We've been discussing on via DMs a little bit, sort of what's been going down, and we agreed to have I won't call it a collab, but just cross promotion, synergy. I'm going to call it synergy. That's a word I learned from 30 Rock.
It's French. It's synergy.
Synergy. But it is called the Broadway Drop Shop, and they are a company that is doing specially designed Broadway merch. Which, as if you're a theater fan, you know a lot of Broadway merch. Much as we love the Broadway shows, the merch kind of sucks. So their aim is to curve that and create specialized merch inspired by many of these shows that are limited edition drops. So they're all very exclusive. Only a few items for each inspired show. They have the merch hasn't come out yet. You can sign up on their website, which is the link will be below. You can use a referral link from me. And yeah, you're going to get exclusive offers on a bunch of the merch, and you'll see in very short time just how good it all is. So get in on the ground floor. And if they ask, Joe sent you. So and that's a pajama game reference, everybody.
If you want to understand what it is, just remember it's unlimited dipshits here on the Koplik Files.
Unlimited dipshits is my dating past, Alan. Not I date them and then I write plays about them. That's what I do. That was a Freudian slip.
I like it. That's the pull quote right there on the billboard. The BroadwayDropShop.com. All the unlimited dipshits you could find.
All the unlimited dipshits you can find. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's also my DMs. Okay, that's it. Alan, we close out every episode with a diva. I'll put her in post, but what diva do you want to close out your episode with?
Bette Midler.
I love it. Bette Midler. Specifically Otto Titzling, or do you want to do a different bet?
Anything beaches related.
Fantastic. Auto titsling it is. All right. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We will catch you next week with some more Tony stuff. Take it away, Bet. Bye.
Crying, oh my God, what joy, what bliss. I'm gonna make me $1 million from this. Every woman in the world will wanna buy one. I will have all the goods manufactured in